this is your host AJ with another video segment for you, and today we're going to be doing roasted chicken. Now, chicken seems to intimidate most people who aren't used to doing it. You think of Thanksgiving time and turkey and mom preparing it and letting it thaw out for 2 days beforehand and then roasting it for like 12 hours or something. That's not the case. In larger birds, it may be the case you need more time, things of that nature. But with a chicken, a normal 3 to 6 pound chicken, it shouldn't take that long. It should only take an hour and a half cooking time at a low temperature, and it's real easy and simple to make. What I'm going to do is show you a simple way to pre-cook it so you get some of the fat out of there and also brine it at the same time so you keep it juicy. You don't have to worry about undercooking it, it being dry, and the skin is wonderful. That's not the best thing to eat. Unfortunately, I'm kind of weak and I'd like the skin, but it's a wonderful recipe, and guys, don't be afraid of it. A couple of hours over the span of an entire day, and you can be impressing your girl or family and friends with the wonderful meal that you created at home with your own bare hands and just a few spices. So sit back, enjoy, and please share this recipe if you like it. Thanks. So what we're going to do is make the brine first. First of all, I've got an 8-quart pot. It's on the stove right now, boiling or getting ready to boil. And then once it boils, I'm going to put the spices in. So what you see here for the brine, the most important thing is salt. I've got half a cup of kosher salt, and I've got a half a cup of sugar, equal parts of both. The sugar will balance out the salt, and I've explained this in the last episodes and other videos. But what the brine does with the salt content, it causes the meat to retain moisture. So in cooking, it's not going to dry the meat out. It's a good way, especially if you have an inexpensive cut of meat, to keep it moist and juicy. But chicken, I love moist, juicy chicken that's cooked well on the inside and also spiced. In addition to this, which this and the water is going to make up the brine, I like to flavor it too. So as those juices lock in the meat, it's flavored, and you're going to get that wonderful flavor in addition to the wonderful chicken flavor. So I've got about 8 cloves here of unpeeled garlic. It doesn't really matter because it's going to be sitting in the brine, boiling and sitting in the brine for a while. I've got 1 tablespoon of peppercorns and 1 teaspoon of allspice berries. You can see the allspice berries are big, and it's rainbow peppercorn, so I've got all different types of color in here. Now you want to use the berries and not the ground ones because the flavor you want to seep out slowly and not quickly. Now I kept this separate. I always put about 2 star anise in here. Star anise is a Chinese spice, and you can see what it looks like. It looks like a little star, and it smells like licorice. It's a great smell. I wish you could smell it. Very bright flavor, and in conjunction with the other kind of aromatic spices, it imparts a very subtle licoricey flavor to the meat that's a lot of times you get in Chinese cooking. So I'm going to add that in, and again, you see how I keep this whole. Got the sugar. You can tell it's kind of clump because I don't really eat sugar a whole lot. I really use it mostly for cooking. And this is a special ingredient, I've got a tablespoon of liquid smoke. It's kind of concentrated, so when you smell it out of the bottle, it doesn't smell that great, but you use a little bit, goes a long way, and again, the flavors in here intermingling are going to be great. Okay, I got a 5.5 pound chicken here that I'm going to cook. First, I'm going to get the water to a boil, put all the spices in, let it boil for about 5 minutes or so, then put the chicken in while it's boiling, turn it off, and then put that in the refrigerator for about 3 hours to let the brine really sink in. What I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to boil the chicken, but what it'll do is it'll kind of instantly cook the outside. It'll lock some of the moisture in, and while it brines, it'll keep the moisture in and also the flavored water. Now, you may say I have the chicken on a wooden cutting board and not a plastic one. I am very careful about cross-contamination. I had food poisoning when I was 17 years old, and something I would never want to go through again or wish anybody else to go through again. So I'm extremely careful about it, but I wash my hands every time I touch the chicken, and I wash the board in hot water, hot soapy water. Then I wipe it off. And there was an article I read probably about 10 years ago that wooden boards were actually a little better than plastic boards, cutting boards, for eliminating cross-contamination. I'm not exactly sure why, the science of it, but it works, and I've been using this board for several years. Chicken, meats, fish, everything else, and I haven't gotten food poisoning. So no issues as long as you wash between uses, and be very careful about that. So I'm going to show you what, putting in the spices and putting in the chicken and getting it in the refrigerator. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, you see I've got my water boiling. I have an 8-quart pot now. I've got 4 quarts of water, maybe a little bit more. I estimated it as long as it's, turn the light on here, as long as it's about 4 quarts. The key is that you want enough water to cover the chicken completely. So whatever amount that is. For brine, a lot of times they call for 2 gallons of water and a cup of salt and a cup of sugar, but I'm not doing that much. 4 quarts is about 16 cups, just for different measuring purposes. Now that I've got the water boiling, I'm going to put the rest of the spices in. Got some water, splash a little bit there. Now you may be wondering why I haven't used any green spices or herbs. One of the reasons is with herbs, the flavoring is kind of mild, kind of understated. So in a mixture like this, it's going to be lost, and as it simmers and boils, it's going to be overwhelmed by the salt, by the sugar, by some of the other ones. So I put a little bit more of the spices in where it takes a little longer to come out, the flavor to come out, and to focus on that. And again, as I said, you see I put the whole garlic in here. Once I'm done with the brine, I'm going to toss this water, so it doesn't really matter, and also it's a little slower to build up to its flavor profiles, so that's a little better. So what I'm going to do, let this come to a boil. I'm going to let this boil for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to put the chicken in. So once that's done, I'll leave it simmer here, and we'll be back and have the chicken in. Okay, I've had the water boiling here for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to take the chicken and put this in. Now I know this seems like an extreme, oops. Okay. All right, I've got a little experience here, so I know it's not going to boil over. Okay, see, it's all submerged, and that's the key. And what I'm going to do, turn off the heat, and I'm going to let this cool down for just a little bit on the stove top, all right, so I don't overwhelm my refrigerator. This looks like a hard step. Why not just take the chicken and put it in the oven? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. One, you want to have this more juicy. This is the way to do it. This is the way restaurants do it. This is they do it with Thanksgiving turkey as well. It looks hard, but it's really not. That's how you get that extra flavor, that extra juiciness. And when I take it out, and you'll see when I put it in the oven, not all, but a lot of the fat melts off too. So when I take this out, I could actually skim the fat off the top, because I'm not sure if you can see, but there's little bubbles of fat that are coming. So it's actually a better way of cooking the chicken too. And also, as you cook it, it's going to be more thoroughly cooked inside, because even though I'm not boiling it, it does cook it somewhat. So I'm gonna let this cool, stick this in the refrigerator, and be back when it's time to prepare. Okay, I've taken the chicken out of the brine, and I'm about to put it in the pan. Now before I do that, I always stuff it with an onion. See, I've cut an onion in half, and I just put it in the cavity, like so. Okay, first of all, I'd never planned to stuff this chicken or have it with stuffing, so that was never an issue. However, if I did, I would cook the stuffing separately. One, because putting stuffing inside the bird, you have to cook it a lot longer to get the stuffing at the temperature that would kill any bacteria. And two, the stuffing just doesn't taste the same. But putting the onion, I discard the onion when I'm done, and it flavors the chicken nicely, and it doesn't get in the way of its cooking. One, because we're not concerned about how long the onion cooks, because we're not going to eat that. So I have the chicken already, and I have a pre-greased pan that I put that in, just like before. I showed on a couple of my other videos. I already pre-greased it. I'm going to put some water in the bottom of it so any dripping fat doesn't spurt up in flame. However, a lot of the fat is gone since soaking it in the brine. So now I'm going to put it in the oven. Now I set the oven at 425 degrees. I'm going to put it in at that temperature, and I'm going to immediately turn the temperature down to 325 degrees. Now I cook it at 325 degrees every 15 minutes per pound. This chicken is 5.5 pounds, so I'm going to round up, so it's going to be about 90 minutes or an hour and a half to cook this chicken. Keep an eye on it. I don't have a temperature thermometer I'm going to use to show you, but I know this method. If you're unsure, use a temperature thermometer to make sure that the chicken is all cooked inside, and so you don't risk any foodborne illnesses. So I'm going to put this in the oven right now and cook it for 90 minutes, and I'll be back and show you the finished product. Okay, the chicken's finished up, and I just took it out of the oven. So this is what it looks like. It looks a little shiny because I put a little bit of a honey glaze over there just to give it a little flavor. You can take the skin off. The skin's where the flavor is, but also where a lot of the fat is. Okay, so I'm just going to carve it and place it in a separate bowl. That way it's easier to pick at. And this is just a normal Sunday night dinner, so I'm going to hone my carving knife like I showed you in one of my last videos. Get just a separate bowl and take off the one of the drumsticks first. Okay, what I do, I just pull it back. That way I can get it right at the joint. Okay, carving chicken or turkey is not hard at all. You see how easy that was? Just pull it back. You see, you expose the joint and just cut it right along there. There we go. Now for cutting the breast of the turkey, what you want to do is make a slice horizontally, that way. I want to get in here so you can see it. Now, when I cut the breast this way, what I do, I have pieces that come right off. I'm kind of doing it in a weird angle. You see, cuts right in. I'm very careful not to cut my serving fork here. Okay, get some of the skin off. I'll take some of that later. I enjoy the skin. Okay, real simple, real easy to do, and this dish is fantastic with the exception of the time for brining. It took an hour and a half. Total cooking time. Got the onion in here, which flavors the meat nicely. You see how nice and juicy that is. Now, one thing you may see on chicken too, and a lot of people worry, sometimes, see, you can't really see it here, but sometimes you see a little red right near the bone. If the internal temperature is 145 degrees, which means it's cooked, that red is the marrow that cooks and kind of seeps through the bone, and it makes it look, but it's not raw. Raw chicken is gray, and you want to avoid that, obviously, at all costs. So what I'm going to do is cut the rest of it up, and then turn it over, and I'll get the thigh in a similar way that I got the drumstick. Just kind of pull it apart near the joint and slice it through. And that's it. See how easy it is? A wonderful piece of chicken. I'm going to have a good dinner tonight. So, hope you all do the same. Thanks for watching.